The man that corrupted Hadleyburg. It was many years ago. Hadleyburg was the most honest and upright town in all the region round about. It had kept that reputation unsmirched through 3 generations, and was prouder of it than any other of its possessions. It was so proud of it and so anxious to ensure its perpetuation that it began to teach the principles of honest dealing to its babies in the cradle, and made the like teachings the staple of their culture thenceforward through all the years devoted to their education. Also, throughout the formative years, temptations were kept out of the way of the young people, so that their honesty could have every chance to harden and solidify and become a part of the very bone. The neighboring towns were jealous of this honorable supremacy, and affected to sneer at Hadleyburg's pride in it and call it vanity. But all the same, they were obliged to acknowledge that Hadleyburg was in reality an incorruptible town, and if pressed they would also acknowledge that the mere fact that a young man hailed from Hadleyburg was all the recommendation he needed when he went forth from his natal town to seek for responsible employment. But at last, in the drift of time, Hadleyburg had the ill luck to offend a passing stranger, possibly without knowing it, certainly without caring, for Hadleyburg was sufficient unto itself and cared not a rap for strangers or their opinions. Still, it would have been well to make an exception in this one's case, for he was a bitter man and revengeful. All through his wanderings during a whole year he kept his injury in mind and gave all his leisure moments to trying to invent a compensating satisfaction for it. He contrived many plans, and all of them were good, but none of them quite sweeping enough. The poorest of them would hurt a great many individuals, but what he wanted was a plan which would comprehend the entire town and not let so much as one person escape unhurt. At last he had a fortunate idea, and when it fell into his brain it lit up his whole head with an evil joy. He began to form a plan at once, saying to himself, "That is the thing to do. I will corrupt the town." 6 months later he went to Hadleyburg and arrived in a buggy at the house of the old cashier of the bank about 10 o'clock at night. He got a sack out of the buggy, shouldered it, and staggered with it through the cottage yard and knocked at the door. A woman's voice said, "Come in," and he entered and set his sack behind the stove in the parlor, saying politely to the old lady who sat reading the Missionary Herald by the lamp, "Pray keep your seat, madam. I will not disturb you. There, now, it's pretty well concealed. One would hardly know it was there. Can I see your husband a moment, madam?" "No, he's gone to Brixton and might not return before morning." "Very well, madam, it's no matter. I merely wanted to leave that sack in his care to be delivered to the rightful owner when he shall be found. I am a stranger. He does not know me. I am merely passing through the town tonight to discharge a matter which has long been in my mind. My errand is now completed, and I go pleased and a little proud, and you will never see me again. There is a paper attached to the sack which will explain everything. Good night, madam." The old lady was afraid of the mysterious stranger and was glad to see him go. But her curiosity was roused, and she went straight to the sack and brought away the paper. It began as follows: "To be published, or the right man sought out by private inquiry, either will answer. This sack contains gold coin weighing 160 pounds, 4 ounces. Mercy on us, and the door not locked." Mrs. Richard flew to it in all a tremble and locked it, then pulled down the window shades and stood frightened, worried, and wondering if there was anything she could do towards making herself and the money more safe. She listened a while for burglars, then surrendered to curiosity and went back to the lamp and finished reading the paper. I am a foreigner, and I am presently going back to my own country to remain there permanently. I am grateful to America for what I have received at her hands during my long stay under her flag, and to one of her citizens, a citizen of Hadleyburg. I am especially grateful for the great kindness done me a year or two ago. 2 great kindnesses, in fact. I will explain. I was a gambler. I say I was. I was a ruined gambler. I arrived in this village at night, hungry and without a penny. I asked for help in the dark. I was ashamed to beg in the light. I begged of the right man. He gave me $20. That is to say, he gave me life as I considered it. He also gave me a fortune, for out of that money I have made myself rich at the gaming table. And finally, a remark which he made to me has remained with me to this day, and has at last conquered me, and in conquering has saved the remnant of my morals. I shall gamble no more. Now I have no idea who that man was, but I want him found, and I want him to have this money, to give away, throw away, or keep as he pleases. It is merely my way of testifying my gratitude to him. If I could stay, I would find him myself, but no matter, he will be found. This is an honest town, an incorruptible town, and I know I can trust it without fear. This man can be identified by the remark which he made to me. I feel persuaded that he will remember it, and now my plan is this. If you prefer to conduct the inquiry privately, do so. Tell the contents of this present writing to anyone who is likely to be the right man, and if he shall answer, I am the man, the remark I made was so-and-so, apply the test, to wit. Open the sack, and in it you will find a sealed envelope containing that remark. If the remark mentioned by the candidate tallies with it, give him the money and ask no further questions, for he is certainly the right man. But if you shall prefer a public inquiry, then publish this present writing in the local paper with these instructions added, to wit. 30 days from now let the candidate appear at the town hall at 8 in the evening, Friday, and hand his remark in a sealed envelope to the Reverend Mr. Burgess, if he will be kind enough to act. And let Mr. Burgess there, and then destroy the seals of the sack, open it, and see if the remark is correct. If correct, let the money be delivered with my sincere gratitude to my benefactor thus identified. Mrs. Richards sat down gently, quivering with excitement, and was soon lost in thinkings after this pattern. What a strange thing it is, and what a fortune for that kind man who set his bread afloat upon the waters. If it had only been my husband that did it, for we are so poor, so old and poor. Then with a sigh, but it was not my Edward. No, it was not he that gave that stranger $20. It is a pity, too, I see it now. Then with a shudder, but it's gambler's money, the wages of sin. We couldn't take it, we couldn't touch it. I don't like to be near it. It seems a defilement. She moved to a further chair. I wish Edward would come and take it to the bank. A burglar might come at any moment. It is dreadful to be here all alone with it. At 11, Mr. Richards arrived, and while his wife was saying, I am so glad you've come, he was saying, I'm so tired, tired clear out. It is dreadful to be poor and have to make these dismal journeys at my time of life, always at the grind on a salary, another man's slave, and he sitting at home in his slippers, rich and comfortable. I am so sorry for you, Edward, you know that, but be comforted. We have our livelihood, we have our good name. Yes, Mary, and that is everything. Don't mind my talk, it's just a moment's irritation and doesn't mean anything. Kiss me. There, it's all gone now, and I'm not complaining any more. What have you been getting? What's in the sack? Then his wife told him the great secret. It dazed him a moment. Then he said, It weighs 160 pounds. Why, Mary, it's $40,000. Think of it, a whole fortune. Not 10 men in this village are worth that much. Give me the paper. He skimmed through it and said, "Isn't it an adventure? Why, it's a romance. It's like the impossible things one reads about in books and never sees in life." He was well stirred up now, cheerful, even gleeful. He tapped his old wife on the cheek and said humorously, "Why, we're rich, Mary, rich. All we got to do is bury the money and burn the papers. If Gambler ever comes to inquire, we'll merely look coldly upon him and say, 'What is this nonsense you're talking? We have never heard of you and your sack of gold before.' And then he would look foolish. And in the meantime, while you're running on with your jokes, the money is here and it is fast getting along towards burglar time. True? Very well, what shall we do? Make the inquiry private? No, not that. It would spoil the romance. The public method is better. Think what a noise it will make. And it will make all the other towns jealous. For no stranger would trust such a thing to any town but Hadleyburg, and they know it. It's a great card for us. I must get to the printing office now, or it shall be too late. But stop, don't leave me here with it, Edward." But he was gone.